On three?
No,
on three or after three?
After three. Sorry.
I think we should try on three.
Okay, let's do it. One,
All right.
2, 3.
That was so bad.
It's out of here! Bartolo has done it! The impossible has happened! 왼쪽으로 던져! 밖으로! 송원빈!
Who's the guy on first base?
That's right.
Okay.
All right.
And what's the guy's name on first base?
No, what is on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on third?
I don't know.
Oh, he's on third. We're not talking about
Welcome back to Baseball Banter. We are back. We finished our first episode last week, and now we're here on another episode. Last episode was episode number 0. This is episode number 1, because that's how we count around here. I'm Toine. I'm doing well. Ollie, how are you?
My cat's staring at me because he thinks I haven't fed him. That's how I'm doing.
All right, Barney.
I'm being accused.
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. You've woken up really early today.
Beautiful day in the neighborhood, as a great man once said.
Yeah, it's really cold, but it's very pretty today. Again,
It is.
It's been really cool for about a week, and it's been really pretty for about a week. So,
It's also too fucking early in the morning.
that's it. It's not that bad. I mean, Barney's has had like what, 2 hours of sleep?
No. I got like 4 last night.
What are you even on about then? You don't have any issues then.
Dude, it's just the schedule of it.
Yeah,
I've shifted my entire schedule by 4 hours for this pod.
we appreciate it. All right, so speaking of the pod, today what we're going to talk about is we got a lot of news, we got a lot of signings, a lot of deals and wheels. Spring training is right around the corner. We're excited about that. We're getting very close to baseball season. We've had the Caribbean Series finish. We've also had the Australian Baseball League finish a little bit earlier than it was supposed to. And we're also going to talk about the ABL, the Australian Baseball League, in more detail today. Yeah, I'm excited. You guys excited?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Maybe one quick thing, a little bit of household things. We're going to do some off-season grading, so we're going to discuss every division and talk about how their off-season went, and then we're going to grade them, and we're going to do some predictions on where they will end up, who will make the playoffs and such.
Yeah, it's basically mandatory for any real, if you're talking about sports, you got to do off-season gradings.
I mean, yeah, and we're talking about sports. We do take
You're talking
ourselves.
about sports?
We do take
We're
ourselves.
talking about sport.
sport, a sport, the sport.
For now.
For now, yeah. Okay. So we got the AL East one coming up this week, and then the next few weeks, the next 6 weeks, I think, before spring training, before opening day, we're going to do all the other divisions. It's going to be a lot of fun. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Moving on, I just want to make another quick note about spring training about to start, which is exciting. Spring is around the corner. It's always a great time. The Phillies are leaning towards adding Odubel Herrera to their roster. And I just want to say before we start that I do not want that. Odubel Herrera has been arrested for domestic violence. I don't think he deserves to be on a baseball team. That's about it. You guys have anything to say on that?
No, that's fair.
Yeah, I think I agree with your take.
All right, so just no. No to Odubel Herrera. He was a great player. I don't want him on my team anymore. All right, let's talk about the stuff that happened in the majors today, this week. We had one relatively big trade, as in there was one big name in there. Ollie, you must be excited that Benintendi left your division?
Oh, always. Super excited all the time.
Yeah, so Andrew Benintendi, left fielder for the 2018... he's a 2018 World Series winner with the Red Sox. He's been traded to the Kansas City Royals.
I'm kind of excited, but also the Red Sox were generally awful last year.
Yeah.
Give me a second. I need to put a cat outside.
Oh, God.
I think it's exciting to have a good player leave your division regardless, even if they're on a garbage team.
He was also
we get shelled by Mike Trout every year, even though the Angels never win anything.
That's fair. I have to say, though, that Benintendi, he has had a couple of bad seasons, but he's still pretty young. He's making $6.6 million this year, and the Boston is going to pay $2.8 million of that. So, and the players that they get in return, Franchi Cordero and Josh Winkowski, they're
I think it's a good look for Boston. I mean, they've been really terrible the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And after their World Series win, they've been pretty bad. After their World Series win, which had a little bit of shade cast over it because of the sign stealing scandal, I think they're looking to rebuild. So getting rid of your expensive, flashy contracts is a good thing for them.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, I'm sure Red Sox fans aren't happy about it, but they're never happy about rebuilds, so...
Yeah, I mean, no team likes to get rid of their stars and begin a rebuild, but sometimes you have to do it. Or at least no fan base loves it.
Yeah, it's silly to figure out that even with Benintendi gone, he only made $6.6 million, but their payroll is still at $189 million.
Good God.
Absurd.
That's a lot of money for a team that did not make the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and is probably not going to make the playoffs next year, like this year or next year. So
Based.
It's and then it was a three team deal. So the Mets get Khalil Lee, who's a 22-year-old outfielder.
Minor league outfielder. Excuse me. And the Royals get Benintendi, and then Boston gets Franchi Cordero, Josh Winkowski, and 3 players to be named later. I mean,
That's a lot of players to be named later.
Yeah, they always get traded. So that's, I have nothing much else to say about it because, and then Benintendi he was the 6th overall pick in his draft class. He made, when, I think it was the 2018 ALCS that he made that terrific catch to end the game against the Astros, which was one of the more exciting postseason moments that I can remember watching. I like it. I'm interested to see what the Royals are going to do this year because they made some signings. Now they traded for Benintendi. Maybe they see an opportunity to maybe take over the spot that Cleveland is pretty much leaving open right now and jump into that spot and maybe even overtake the White Sox. They're going to be interesting to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's not a lot of strength going on in the AL Central this year, so it's cool to see the Royals make some moves.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the last 3 years?
I mean, the White Sox and the Indians were pretty good last year together. And the Twins.
The Twins have had moments where they're really exciting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but none of them can be really called really good. They're just okay.
I don't think that they're World Series
division.
competing teams, but I think that they've had some good teams in the past few years, even if they're not the best team out of the 30.
No,
that's fair.
And this year they're looking a little bit weaker than they have over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
All right.
Moving on, we also had, I think one of the most predictable free agent signings happen. Yadier Molina, 9-time All-Star, 9-time Gold Glover. I think he's a lifetime Cardinal. He went back to the Cardinals. Signed for 1 year, $9 million. Barney, what do you have on Yadier?
I mean, he's a great player, and he's still performing well, even though he's been with the Cardinals forever. So I think that it totally makes sense that he's going back to them. Oftentimes we'll see these guys who spend their entire career with one ball club leaving if they start to fall apart toward the end of their career. For instance, with Felix Hernandez a couple years ago. But Yadi's still performing well. He had 45% caught stealing rate last year. That's great. His offensive production is fine.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, I think that it makes sense that he goes back. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Definitely. He's also joining his boy Adam Wainwright again, who's a starting pitcher who has also played his entire career with the Cardinals. I think they've won 2 World Series together.
Yeah,
2006 and 2011. I mean, yeah, we basically saw this coming. I think he was the 3rd best catcher on the board, next to Real Muto and McCann. So, yeah, good for him.
Yeah, if I'm looking at an article of him right now, and if you add framing to a certain calculation of WAR, then he's like the 6th best catcher all time. Or sorry, has 6th most WAR all time.
I mean,
yeah, he's good.
He's just a little bit older now, so.
What is he, 38?
I think so.
Well, if Nelson Cruz has shown us anything.
Speaking of Nelson Cruz, he also signed this week.
Back to those Twins we were just talking about.
Back to those Twins. So the AL Central has started making some moves as well. So Nelson Cruz is a 6-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger. He has the most home runs in the majors since 2008.
Didn't he also have like the best age 40 season ever or something like that?
That could be. I should check on that, but he is basically like, I think in the last 10 years of his career, like since turning 30, he has been a monster. And yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the important things to bring up with Nelly is that he's gotten 4 Silver Slugger awards, but that includes the previous 2 years. So even though he's old, he's still just putting out a ton of offensive production.
Mm-hmm.
So good for Boomstick and good for the Twins.
Yeah, another good signing.
According to this, it was the 4th best OPS by a 38-year-old ever, behind Barry Bonds, Ted Williams, and Ty Cobb.
That's good company.
If you're on a list with those names, you're doing something right.
Yeah. For the viewers that are new to baseball, OPS is on-base percentage plus slugging percentage. And on-base percentage is just the number of times you get on base divided by the number of times that you come up to the plate. And slugging percentage is basically bases that you get per at-bat. So it's a nice big number that just says, how good are you at offense?
And Nelson Cruz is pretty good at offense.
Nelson Cruz is very good at offense.
Fun stuff. Another fun nugget on Nelson Cruz that you probably haven't
Let's not
heard
use
of.
the phrase fun nugget, please.
Fun nugget sounds like a euphemism.
So Nelson Cruz has an entourage. Very, heavily involved entourage. He has a private chef. He also has somebody, apparently, who does his texts for him. So I've heard. So he's an interesting character. Yeah, he just wants, he wants to arrive at the ballpark. He doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to focus completely on playing baseball, and it works. He just becomes a boomstick every season.
He's
again.
very good at playing baseball.
Yeah, he does it well.
He hits ball far. Yeah.
All right. Adam Duvall went to the Marlins.
Like an interesting deal.
A steal of a deal.
I would say so.
Yeah.
If you look, I never thought of Adam Duvall as a good defensive outfielder, but he's been really good as an outfielder. I thought he was more of a DH kind of guy. And that might have hurt his value or his the money he would get, because the idea of him being more of a DH kind of guy. But he's a really good defensive outfielder and has solid offensive output. He hits really well against the Phillies, so I hate that he's still in my division.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean he's as far away from the Mariners as he can be. So
could be in the Australian Baseball League.
I don't think he played there. No, he didn't. All right. Another cool signing. Speaking of the Mariners, they signed
Speaking of the devil.
They signed Ken Giles.
Yeah.
So we talked about this a little bit before the pod started. I think it's a really good deal, and I think it's pretty low risk. you guys disagree with me. Please elaborate.
Yeah, I think that there's... Oh.
No, go ahead.
All right, yeah, I think that there... So Ken Giles had Tommy John surgery at the beginning of last season. So he was out for all of the 2020 season, and he's predicted to be out for all of the 2021 season. So they've signed him for a 2-year deal, I believe.
Yep.
But he won't actually probably be able to pitch until 2022. So I think that there's always risk when guys are coming off of injury, coming off of Tommy John's, that they just won't be able to produce the way that they could beforehand. Rehab's a complicated process. So I wouldn't say that it's low risk, but the upside for this guy is potentially really high. And if they got a good deal for him, then right when they're trying to hit the stride of their rebuild, they could have a World Series caliber closer.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, so those are basically my thoughts. It's the upside is you have a very good chance to getting a World Series closer at next to nothing. But the downside is maybe he's only a AAA reliever after injury. Or maybe he gets re-injured. Like, you might get nothing for this deal, but you might also get everything for this deal.
So the reason why I think it's pretty low risk is it all depends on how much money he's getting. But basically, you can assume that he's going to get a little bit less money in AAV because they're pillowing his 2021 season, which he's not going to play. So they're basically paying him to rehab for one season. Mm-hmm. So you can assume that in 2022 he'll give the Mariners a little of a pay cut or a good deal on him. So I think
in terms of low risk that way, in that they're not probably spending a ton of money. I don't think that the actual numbers of the deal have been released yet.
No, that's why we
but
know.
Low risk in terms of not spending a lot of money, so they aren't risking tens of millions of dollars.
No, exactly. Absolutely. And then if he turns into a decent reliever is fine enough. Then you have you get your money back. If he's really good, but the Mariners aren't really good yet, they can flip him. And we've seen in the past that these kind of star relievers, they can get a lot of return, especially at the trade deadline. So in my opinion, it's like a really smart deal.
Yeah, this is also a guy who doesn't need to perform that well to be an improvement on what the Mariners have had. The Mariners had the second worst bullpen in the major leagues in 2020.
Who was the first?
I don't know, some National League East team. I don't pay attention. But the Mariners' bullpen had an ERA of 5.9, which is just abysmal. So he doesn't even need to come back and be at the same caliber that he was before he got hurt.
Mm-hmm. He needs to have a 4 ERA.
Exactly. So he doesn't have to do too much to be an improvement on what the Mariners currently have. And the potential upside, I think, for this guy is huge.
Yeah. It's a good deal, but it's not low risk.
All right.
It's like medium risk.
It's good. It's
like, not no risk for sure.
No, it's like it's like a good deal. All
right, Jake Arrietta back to the Cubs for a year, $6 to $7 million.
Yeah, that's what was reported on him. Jake Arrietta was arguably the best pitcher in the sport for a span of 2 years.
Yeah,
basically came out of nowhere. I think he was traded to the Cubs along with Pedro Strop for I don't know who. I can't remember the pitcher they sent in return.
Let's find out. Keep going.
He was like below average on the Baltimore Orioles, below average to start his career with the Cubs, and then it clicked. He had a good 2014, and then he had a monster of a season in 2015. With a
he won Cy Young that year, right?
Yeah, he had a 1.77 ERA. He had a 215 ERA plus, and then I think he had a no-hitter that year and a no-hitter the year after that.
So I remember the no-hitter versus the Reds because it was like 16 to nothing.
Oh yeah.
We should probably throw up what ERA and ERA plus are on the YouTube stream, but for anyone who's just listening along and doesn't know, ERA stands for earned run average. It's the number of runs that a pitcher will, on average, give up per 9 innings. And then ERA plus just adjusts that to the league average and then multiplies by 100. So a value of 100 is always average every year. They also adjust for park factors and that sort of stuff. But an ERA plus of 100 is totally average for a year.
So Jake Arrietta was twice as good as an average pitcher in 2015, which is really good. Ollie, have you found who the Cubs traded?
Give me a second.
Got a stall here, Toine.
I talked to you guys before we started recording. Apparently, there was a series in 2018 when Arrietta was on the Phillies. They were playing against the San Francisco Giants, and the only run that was scored in that series by the Phillies was a Jake Arrietta home run. Just throwing that out there. For the rest, he's been pretty average to below average for the Phillies, while earning an average of $25 million a year. I was happy when they signed him. I was pretty disappointed with him while he played for the Phillies.
Okay, I have it.
He has it.
So the Baltimore Orioles acquired Scott Feldman and Steve Clevenger for Jake Arrietta, Pedro Strop, and international signing bonus slots.
Mm-hmm. Seems about right.
Yeah.
And the Cubs got a Cy Young winner.
Yeah, the Cubs got a Cy Young winner and also Pedro Strop.
I also saw that he didn't make the All-Star game in his Cy Young season.
He what?
He wasn't an All-Star in 2015. He was an All-Star in 2016, but not in 2015.
I mean, yeah, you're always an All-Star the year after you win Cy Young.
Even if you're bad.
Even if you're bad, because people are like, man, wasn't he really, really good like 6 months ago?
It was also really good for them in the 2016 playoffs, right? I think he had it was very good for them as well.
Yeah, so he was an All-Star in 2016 and 9th in Cy Young voting. One Silver Slugger that year also. But the year before he was 1st in Cy Young voting, obviously, and 6th in MVP voting.
6th in MVP, yeah.
How was he only 6th in MVP? Oh, right, behind Bryce Harper, Paul Goldschmidt, Joey Votto, Anthony Rizzo, and Andrew McCutchen.
Yeah, I think that was Bryce Harper's unanimous MVP season. So
yeah,
where he
100%
was
first place share.
Yeah.
Tough to beat.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe it's also interesting for our listeners to know that in baseball there's three pretty big awards at the end of the season. You got the Cy Young, which is the award for the best pitcher in the league. You've got the MVP, which is the award for the best player overall in the league, which can also be a pitcher.
The most valuable player, if you will.
Yeah.
It can be a pitcher, but usually it's a position player.
I think Kershaw's won it as a pitcher. Verlander has won it as a pitcher, and I think Roy Halladay. I don't know for sure.
I'll take a look. Yeah, last 2 years, 3. Yeah, so since 2015, it's been exclusively hitters. Kershaw won in 2014. Verlander in 2011. And I'm getting to the point where I don't know who's a pitcher anymore.
It's fine. And then you also have the Rookie of the Year, which is the award for the best rookie, first-year player. Okay, I think that's covered most of the guys that have been signed. I want to make one more point on Brad Miller, who is reportedly going to the Phillies. Mm-hmm. And I can hear everybody thinking, who the hell is Brad Miller?
I was thinking, who the hell are the Phillies?
Who the hell are the Phillies? Yeah, that makes.
That's also very fair.
Cool stat: they had the worst bullpen ERA in the league last year. So.
Oh, it was the Phillies.
Yeah, it was totally not. It was not covered in any way. So
no, we didn't talk about
guys.
that.
We're three pitchers who like teams with very bad pitchers.
I mean, it's probably a sign. So Brad Miller,
we like the teams we could be a part of, Barnes.
See, that's why. Brad Miller is a bench bat. He's more like a utility infielder, outfielder kind of guy. So he isn't very high profile. He did play for the Phillies already in 2019, and I wanted to give you something along, just so you know why I'm excited that we actually signed Brad Miller. Just gonna say a couple of names here. Babe Ruth he needed in his career needed about 11.76 at bats for every home run he hit. For Barry Bonds, that number is 12.92 at bats per home run.
Yeah.
Ryan Howard in 2006, his MVP season, needed 10.02 at bats per home run.
That's very good.
And then Brad Miller, as a Philly, needed 9.83 at bats as a home run. For a home run.
Brad, buddy, pal.
Yeah.
Stop hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
See,
that's not where the defenders are.
People can say small sample size. I say I don't care. So I just like the guy. So that's everything from me on the Brad Miller signing. Happy with it. I think the Phillies roster is pretty much set. And we'll talk about that in in one of the offseason gradings about how I think the Phillies see it this offseason. Still a bunch of guys on the board. Barney, who do you think? Like, who jumps out to you that he hasn't signed yet?
Jackie Bradley Jr. is the one that stands out to me for having not signed yet. I mean, this guy is just an absolutely incredible center fielder who is on those terrible Boston Red Sox. So I could see him going all sorts of places, but it's kind of weird that he hasn't been picked up yet.
Yeah, I wanted him to sign for the Phillies, but I don't think he will because I think he wants a lot of money, and he's just not getting it anywhere. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of great center fielders in the league right now, and he's a little on the older side, so
yeah, definitely.
Still kind of surprised that he hasn't been picked up yet, and I think that'll happen pretty soon. I don't see him going back to Boston since it seems like they're trying to dump value right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, they don't have room for him, or they might have room for him, but they don't want to make it.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's a good move for him as well. He's still a very good center fielder. So I could see him going to a team that might want to compete a little bit more than the Red Sox will this coming year.
What about what about Justin Turner? Where the hell is he going?
I could see him sign with the Mets. Who the Mets have? Who did they have? Is it J.D. Davis at third base?
Are we sure that he's not going back to the Dodgers?
He could.
He's coming off a World Series win with them. He's an older guy, journeyman third baseman, very good.
Justin Turner rumors. Dodgers and Brewers have offered multi-year contracts, according to this.
Brewers is interesting.
And the Mets, Blue Jays, and Braves remain in the mix. This is as of 8 hours ago.
All right, so the usual suspects for this offseason.
Yeah.
It's always the Mets. Much. It's always the Blue Jays. It's always the Dodgers.
Jays could use that level third baseman. Trying to think who they have now. Because, they would want... Let's see, they dumped Travis Shaw in the offseason, so they don't have him at third base.
Mm-hmm.
They have Vladdy and Biggio.
But Vlad is probably going to play first base, no?
Yeah, Vladdy and Tellez are going to split time at first base and DH.
Yeah.
Biggio is probably going to spend most of his time at third in the outfield.
Yeah, I don't see a compelling reason for the Dodgers to not bring him back. Or for him to not go back to the Dodgers. I mean, they have a track record of winning the World Series or showing up in World Series over the last few years.
Yeah.
And, I mean, their pitching has become just so good this year that they seem like the most compelling team to rejoin. He's already got an in with them.
The thing is, I'm just going to look at the Dodgers payroll. So they're currently at 248 million for their...
That's a lot of money.
For their luxury tax payroll. I don't see them signing Turner. No, I don't think they'll sign him.
You don't think he would potentially even take a smaller contract to stick with them?
He could. But I feel like...
I mean, this is the team that's looking to go back-to-back World Series. That's a team that you want to be on, right? More than the Brewers.
Yeah, but I think there are also other teams that are, in that list, there are definitely other teams that are looking to go back to the playoffs.
Yeah, and you also have to take into account...
At the very least.
Corey Seager will be a free agent after this season. I think they'll just try to re-sign Corey Seager. Try to either sign him to an extension or try to sign him when he becomes a free agent. And that's why I think they will leave Turner off the table.
All right, yeah, I can see from his point of view trying to take a smaller contract, like a 1 year with him, just to try to get another ring.
Yeah. That's definitely possible.
Yeah, that could be something. All right. For me,
Time to move on from free agents?
Well,
or is it you?
Yeah, I just want to mention that there's still 3 pretty good starting pitchers on there.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
With Jake Arrietta, James Paxton, and Taijuan Walker. I'm surprised that they're still on the board. They're probably gonna...
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Jays haven't signed one yet.
Yeah, same for the Phillies. The Phillies signed like Chase Anderson and Matt Moore on like 3 and 4 million deals. I'd rather have them take that money and put that in a Taijuan Walker deal. Like give Taijuan Walker 1 year, 10 million or something.
I think a lot of teams were sitting on these, I'll call them A-tier starters.
Yeah.
They were waiting for the A-plus tier guys for Trevor Bauer and such to sign, which is why I think there are still a lot of good starting pitchers available.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see these guys get snapped up pretty soon. But I think a lot of teams were sort of waiting to see how they did in the Bauer market or for some of the other really top-tier pitchers.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, that's all on free agents, I guess. Maybe one more news thing. The 2021 Caribbean Series ended. I'm going to give a go at pronouncing the winner. It's the Aguilas Cibaeñas.
I think that's as close as we're going to get.
Well, we still said we still promised that everybody was going to try to pronounce it. So, Ollie.
Fine. The winner. I think the winner is pronounced as the Aguilas Cibaeñas.
I think you guys got it.
We nailed it. A-plus job.
I still want to hear Barney's take.
I think that my take is that this is a great team. Getting the W in the 2021 Caribbean Series. I wasn't able to catch all of the games, but a little bit of the coverage after the fact, and a good win and a good tournament.
Some players that were in that tournament include Robinson Cano and Melky Cabrera, both former / and Yadier Molina for that matter.
Who pitched?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, he pitched in one of the games, and he threw a strikeout on a 6-slider. So that was cool.
Yeah. So for what the Caribbean Series is it's a tournament between the top teams in I think just Winter League ball for a lot of South and Central American teams, or South and Central American competitions, if I'm not wrong.
No, that's true.
Yep.
It's like the winners of the individual leagues that play in like a kind of a bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember right from my brief Wikipedia dive, it's won by the Dominican Republic a lot, but not exclusively. Puerto Rico also has a significant number of wins, followed by Mexico and Cuba.
It's always fun. I like the winter leagues, the Dominican Winter League, the Mexican Winter League, and such, because it's a lot of fun. You see that a lot of players that play in the MLB, such as like a Yadier Molina and Robinson Cano, who isn't really playing in the MLB next year, because of reasons. They like going there as well because it's a lot of fun. It's very fun to play there. There's a lot of it's a very different atmosphere. It's a very different kind of play style. They probably feel like they can be themselves a little bit more, be more expressive while they're playing, and it's just fun to see. So
yeah, it looks like fun.
Yeah, this year there weren't any fans to interact with, but I think usually there's a lot of interaction as well. So yeah, if you're like next time it's the baseball off season, you don't know what to watch, tune into one of the winter leagues. They usually live stream on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever. So it's a great watch, and you'll see a lot of major leaguers play usually. All right. I think we're all set to move on to the trivia part.
Trivia.
Trivia. All right. So I'm going to go first with my little bit of trivia. You guys ready?
Yes, trivias.
The
I'm
year,
good.
the year was 1919. The Chicago White Sox played the Cincinnati Reds in the 1919 World Series. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series against the White Sox, who are later accused of accepting bribes in order for them to throw the series, so-called.
Yes.
I blanked. Sorry. So later on...
Okay, we can cut it in post.
Later on the night... No, I'll just leave it in. So later on, 1921, a Chicago jury acquitted the players involved in this scandal, the Black Sox scandal, as it was later referred to, referring to the White Sox of the White Sox that aren't really as white as they claim to be. Nevertheless, the Commissioner of Baseball imposed a lifetime ban on all 8 players that were involved, including a certain Shoeless Joe Jackson. Does this ring a bell?
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
Shoeless Joe Jackson thus had his final year in 1920. So that was the year after the World Series. According to WAR, so wins above replacement, Shoeless Joe Jackson had the best season before his retirement in terms of WAR. Right, so he had a 7.5 WAR. He also has the most triples, hits. I think those are so he also has the most triples and hits in his final season and the highest batting average in his final season. My question to you guys is, there's a guy who finished 3rd all time in his retirement season with WAR, right? But he leads the line when it comes to hits. In terms of doubles, home runs, and RBIs. He retired after the year 2000. Do you guys have a guess?
So basically, best retirement season.
Yeah.
He led in a whole bunch of shit.
It was the third best season ever in terms of retiring season. And it's also the best season since 2000.
Oh, wait. Best season? Oh, best such season.
Yeah, in terms of WAR.
Is it David Ortiz?
It is David Ortiz.
I could see it, David, yeah.
It is David Ortiz. So David Ortiz, he finished with a 5.2 WAR in 2016, which is better than Roberto Clemente, for example, Jackie Robinson, and a lot of other guys, of course. He hit 48 doubles and a whopping 38 home runs.
Yeah, I remember that. That was painful. That was a painful year.
Yeah.
Shout out to Big Papi that year for also hitting a triple.
Yeah, he hit one triple.
I remember that.
He hit one triple.
This is his only triple in 3 years.
I think so, yeah. So basically, what you'll see a lot of players in the last few seasons being quite below average. For example, Derek Jeter in his final season was worth, let's see, a whopping minus 0.7 WAR in his final season. So it just illustrates like how good of a season that David Ortiz had before even retiring. So yeah, props to David Ortiz, who's going to be on the Hall of Fame ballot next year and will probably be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he becomes Hall of Fame eligible here in 2022. And after Edgar Martinez sort of opened the door for designated hitters making it into the Hall of Fame, I think that there's no chance.
Yeah. So
Ortiz doesn't make it.
So Barney, why was that discussion even there in the first place? Why
the designated hitter discussion?
Yeah.
I think wasn't the discussion just that since they don't contribute defensively, they are not as eligible for being considered all-time greats.
Yeah.
But of course, the modern game is so offensively focused that I think that discussion has sort of fallen apart a little bit, and Edgar Martinez just sort of opened the door for other designated hitters to be considered just based on their batting statistics.
Yep, that's true. I agree.
David Ortiz is essentially the best of the best since Edgar.
Yeah, so. He played pretty much exclusively as a DH. He's also a former Mariner.
Yep.
Just putting that out there.
Former minor league Mariner, at least.
It's still a Mariner.
That team knows how.
It's still a Mariner.
That team knows how to make designated hitters.
All right,
Nelson
Ollie.
Cruz, also former Mariner.
Yeah. Good to point out.
All right.
Yeah.
So, my trivia is based off of Chris Davis with a K.
Okay.
K-H-R-I-S Davis.
Traded to the Rangers?
Athletic Davis.
Yeah.
Athletic Davis, yes.
Can
Now.
does not go over 48 Davis.
Yes. Now, Chris Davis, from the years of 2014 to 2018, had the same batting average every single year. He batted .247 in 2014, in 2015, 16, 17, and 18.
Okay.
For at least the latter part of that period, that was also his career batting average.
That's really cool.
So he just batted in his own season .247 every single year, while also having a career batting average of .247. In other words, Chris Davis was the single most consistent hitter for a span of 5 years, period. So I want to know what you guys think is the second most consistent hitter, who that is, and who the least consistent hitter is. So a guy who had the most variation in their batting averages over any span of 5 years.
Is this like in baseball history?
Yeah, is this just over these years or?
Okay.
So any 5 years. Any 5 year stretch in their career.
I'd say like most consistent, Tony Gwynn, maybe?
Yeah. Tony Gwynn, Ichiro might be up there.
Yeah. You can give us some hints, maybe, because you don't have to give us the right answer right away. Maybe just give us some hints so we can
let's see.
Circle around it a little bit.
Yeah. The number 2 most consistent hitter over any 5 year span has also played since 2010.
Oh.
So played their 5 year stretches within the last decade. And the worst guy is in the 1950s.
Oof.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
Although I will settle for third worst, and he is a Hall of Famer.
Oh, okay. So 20. Okay, let's try to find a guy who is second most consistent behind Chris Davis. Is he American League or National League?
Both.
Both. Dang it. That doesn't really help.
I was going to say like maybe Adrian Beltre.
Oh
No.
yeah, good shout. Is it a consistently bad average or a consistently good average?
Ooh, that is a very good question. It is a consistently good average.
Is it? Are we looking at like? How can we? Is it like a leadoff hitter or like more of a like?
Ooh, that's
heart of the order kind of guy.
No, I think he's lower half.
Lower half.
I don't actually know where he bat.
Are we talking infielder, outfielder?
He's an outfielder.
He's an outfielder. Okay, maybe tell us the teams that he played for in that period. Because like I have no idea right now.
Within the 5 year stretch that I'm talking about, he played for the Milwaukee Brewers, the Kansas City Royals, and the San Francisco Giants, and the Seattle Mariners.
I was considering Lorenzo Cain first, but that doesn't. He played only for the Brewers and it's an outfielder. Oh, Nori Aoki.
Yes,
Aha.
it is Nori Aoki. In 2012, he batted .288, followed by a .286, .285, .287, and .283.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
That's pretty.
super consistent. The worst over any such stretch. Do you guys still want to guess, or am I just giving it to you?
Oh, just give it to us.
It's Roy Campanella, and he did it in back-to-back 5 year stretches. He went from, so in 1951, he batted .325, which he followed up with a .269, then a .312, then a .207, then a .318, then a .219.
Wow.
That's some variance.
That's some serious variance. Second worst is King Kelly, who played from 1883 to 87, so I wasn't expecting you guys to get that one. But the third worst is Babe Ruth from 1930 to 1934, in just a nice steady decline.
Actually, when you first posed the question, I was thinking Barry Bonds might have been one of the worst, or most inconsistent.
I don't actually know where he is on that list. Let's find out.
Barry.
I mean, whenever I hear Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds seems like the closest comparison in a lot of ways statistically.
The next best thing.
Yeah. Barry Bonds.
I'll take Barry Bonds. Should be a Hall of Famer.
I mean, if they're not going to take away the Astros World Series win, then yeah.
He's inconsistent, but just not that inconsistent. He's not... he doesn't have a total movement of almost 358 not percentage points, 358 points over 5 years. The third best, by the way, is Tony Fernandez, for some reason.
Huh.
Who'd have thunk it?
91 to 94, or 90 to 94. All right, that's all I got. Barnes?
Barney, you have...
Yeah, so I got some trivia that's about one of the international leagues.
Ooh.
And this is just sort of to illustrate how different they are in many ways than Major League Baseball. So, Toine, even though we didn't coordinate this at all, I like that you started off by talking about the Black Sox. Because I'd like to talk about the longest suspensions in MLB history.
Okay.
They are, of course, the Black Sox players, where there were 8 of them who received lifetime bans. Pete Rose, who also received a lifetime ban for cheating in a World Series. And then Alex Rodriguez, who received a 1-year ban in 2014 for PEDs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So those are all some pretty long bans. I mean, there's 9 lifetime bans in there. I couldn't find the stat for the highest fine ever in Major League Baseball, but I'm sure it's associated with A-Rod and his PED suspensions. Yeah. In the Australian Baseball League, however, which we're going to talk about here in just a few minutes, what do you guys think is the longest suspension, at least that I could find? It doesn't seem like it's as well documented as Major League suspensions.
Just in length?
Yeah, longest suspension in length.
Are we talking... I feel like... I won't see them suspend somebody for a full year.
I'd say like maybe 20 games.
Yeah, so I don't think we're talking years. I think we're talking in terms of games. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's 1 game.
All right. So the longest suspension that I could find, and this might not actually be their longest suspension, this was just from some Googling around, was a 6-game suspension in 2014 that Josh Roberts of the Brisbane Bandits got for fighting with Sydney Blue Sox, the catcher of the Sydney Blue Sox during a brawl. So not related to cheating, just related to fighting. A 6-game suspension.
Okay.
That's okay.
I also dug in to see if I could find any notable fines, and the only one that I could find, the only noteworthy fine, at least noteworthy enough that I could get a news article for it, was from December of 2019, when the Auckland Tuatara's manager, Steve Mintz, was fined about 130 euros and suspended for 1 game for cursing at an umpire.
Oh, beautiful.
I think that's about the fine here in Belgium. Like, that's about the punishment here.
Yeah, so just absolutely incomparable in terms of the reason for these fines, suspensions, and also just the magnitude of them. I mean, MLB managers cursing at umpires, that's... No one even makes note of that. We saw that a little bit during this last season when we could actually hear the players and the managers without the fans around.
You guys should read some old minor league umpire reports from like the 70s and 80s. And it's just so it's these handwritten reports, which they have transcripts of, so you don't have to read that bullshit. But it just goes, and then he called me a cocksucker. And then I said that I was certain about my call. And then he called me a no good cocksucker again. And then I tossed him.
And then I tossed him.
And then I ran him from the game. Then he continued to call me. And then just like a list of expletives.
Have you guys seen the almost a breakdown from John Boy, which was released, I think, it's about 4 days ago, 9th of February. There's a clip of a first base coach.
Stealing second.
Stealing a base after getting ejected. It's a good watch.
It's classic stuff.
Yeah, and the guy looks like so coachy, so baseball coachy.
It's a Lou Piniella move.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It really is a Lou Piniella
And
move.
I think I just saw it. The best part is that when he's walking off the field with it, the umpire is following him a little bit, and then at some point, just before he leaves the field, he just puts the base down and just walks on. And the umpire's like, "Alrighty, tantrum over."
I love a good coach or manager tantrum.
Oh, a good ejection is the best.
Exactly, that's what they're there for. So I guess. With that fun trivia about the Australian Baseball League, I guess I'll toss it to you, Toine, because I think we have a little bit more prepared about the ABL.
Oh, dude, that's a sick segue. I love me a good segue. Thanks for tossing it to me. We're talking about the Australian Baseball League today. Maybe just a quick note that normally tomorrow would be the championship game. Unfortunately, they are...
That's the 14th of February, 2021.
Yes, the 14th of February, 2021.
Singles Awareness Day, 2021.
It's okay, Barnes.
That is indeed the only holiday that is happening that day. So, it's supposed to be a championship game on Sunday. They're going into COVID lockdown. They decided to replace it with the qualification final that was supposed to happen on Friday.
Yeah, basically they had a thing where if the games on Saturday and Sunday, so today and tomorrow, weren't played, then the qualifying final, which was the two teams that hadn't lost a game yet, would become the championship game.
And it's not being played anymore.
So the championship game isn't being played. The elimination final is also not being played. Yeah. So the qualifying final is just all that's left. And they decided that's the championship game. Cool. These two teams have played, and now we have a winner.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the winner in a second. Maybe it's interesting to know, a fun fact about the Australian Baseball League to start off with is the fact that they have a team made of entirely out of Korean players. Ollie, you've done some research on Geelong, Korea. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
So basically, the Australian Baseball League has 6 fully Australian teams. They have 1 New Zealand-based team, and they have 1 Korean nationality team, which is based in Geelong, Australia. And the only real difference between those 3 sections is the Australian Baseball League has a limit on how many foreign players you can have. And just for the Korean team, Korean players count as national players, so they don't count against your foreign player count. For the New Zealand team, New Zealand players count as national players, and for the Australian teams, Australian players count. So it just changes what pool of players they can pick from more freely.
So does that mean that the Korean team would have to use one of their import slots to get an Australian player?
Yes. I
Wild.
think. Yeah.
Crazy.
So they're almost entirely Korean-based. I think there are still limits on players that are top level in the KBO. The Australian Baseball League keeps a list. It costs extra to not only have a foreign player, but also a player who's played in the MLB, for example.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The Australian Baseball League as such is 10 years old. As it stands today. It does have a little bit of a history before that. So back in 1934, we had Norrie Claxton, who donated a trophy to the state that won the annual Australian Baseball Championships, referred to as the Claxton Shield, which is what they still play for today. The competition was then renamed the Claxton Shield Competition in 1937, And then up until 1988, it was just that states playing against each other every year. Until in 1988, the Australian Baseball League was born. 8 teams were founded, I think. They were playing 42 to 56 games, and I don't think there was a postseason after that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ollie. I think they just played.
I have to look it up.
Yeah, but what I found was that they just played all the games against each other, and then eventually who's on top is like the champion.
Yeah.
So there's no no postseason, no playoff format. After that, it's just like, okay, you play until...
Oh no, there were in fact playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes. It's
yeah.
Let me check.
Have you guys seen the Claxton Shield?
It's beautiful.
Yes.
The actual shield, it's great.
It's like opposed to the World Series trophy, it's not just a chunk of metal.
Isn't that just called the Commissioner's Trophy?
No, it's called a chunk of metal by the Commissioner.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, the Claxton Shield is beautiful.
It's a proper shield. It's
a proper
great.
shield.
We'll throw up a picture.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's
a big riveted piece of leather
with a lot of plaques on it as well.
It's the most Australian trophy I've ever seen, and I love it.
Yeah. So it was supposed.
Really looks like it could protect you from an attack of emus.
It's actually a shield. Like sometimes you play for a shield and it's not really a shield. It's more like a bowl or like a plate.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen pictures of the back of it, but it looks like it should have arm straps on it.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely defensive implement first, trophy second.
Which makes sense. It used to be the case that the Claxton Shield was given to the team that would win 3 Australian baseball championships. So back in the 1930s. And then the first 3 Australian baseball championships, when the Claxton Shield was introduced, were all won by the same team. And then they said like, fuck it. We'll just keep playing for it. We're not going to give it away already because, like, look at the shield. It's so cool. And we already have to give it to you. Hell no. So that's basically how it came into existence. So we have the Australian Baseball League until 1999, when it became the International Claxton League, International Baseball League Australia or something.
Yeah, they had some baseball in Australia that were still playing for the Claxton Shield.
Yeah.
Until 2010, when they founded the Australian Baseball League again.
As we know this time. Yeah. It's a winter league. So it's played for...
It's an Australian summer league.
Yeah. It's probably good to point out that it's winter in the way that we see winter. But in Australia...
Yeah, from the MLB's point of view, it's a winter league.
MLB's point of view, it's a winter league. It's played between November and February, which is the summer months in Australia. The setup is pretty straightforward. So each team plays 40 games. The league is split into 2 4-team divisions, where the division champs are giving the 1 and the 2 seeds, and then 3 other teams qualify for the postseason. So the number 5 seed meets the number 4 seed in a wildcard game. The winner of the wildcard game meets the number 1 seed, so one of the 2 division champs. And the other semifinal series is between the number 2 and the number 3 seed. So basically, these are 3-game series. Then you get the championship series, so the Australian Baseball League Championship Series, which is also a best of 3. And then the winner gets the Claxton Shield. So the winner gets to hide behind the shield.
Yeah.
Funsies.
And all the other teams get to attack that team.
If they're still around.
Yeah.
And then it's basically a last man standing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
Why there's so much turnover in the ABL.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. The MVP of the season gets the Helms Award. Ollie, do you know why it's named the Helms Award?
I think it's after a player. Give me a second.
Yeah, because
I assume it was because all of their awards are armor based.
Yes.
I didn't think of that yet. So you had the Claxton Shield and the Helms Award, which is just like a helmet. Imagine that. It's like like a Harry Potter kind of thing, like with the three things, like the invisibility cloak and the wand and the time thing. Where if you win the Claxton Shield and the Helms Award, that you're pretty much unbeatable in the showdown that happens at the end of the ABL.
Yeah, exactly. The real tournament is the cage match that happens at the end.
Yeah, so it's named after the now dissolved Helms Athletic Foundation, which presented a different Helms Award to the most outstanding sports, I think, player in various continents.
Oh, okay.
So then there was just also a Helms Award for Australian baseball.
All right. So the COVID happened. So they pretty much did.
It's a nice way of putting it. COVID happened. It's
like then they decided, okay, we're going to do our season a little bit differently this time. So only 6 teams entered. They also didn't all play the same number of games because sometimes the borders between the states were closed, if I'm not mistaken. So sometimes teams couldn't play other teams because the borders were closed. So there
was some COVID shit going on.
Yeah, there were a couple of teams that played 14 games. Others played 28 games.
They were supposed to play 24 this year.
Yeah, but it was just a mess. So I think like of the 6 teams, 5 teams actually did make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which is, I wrote a whole bunch about how it worked this year, and apparently there's a simpler way to put it, as Oliver mentioned.
Yeah.
So it's a wild card feeding into a double elimination bracket.
Yeah. So
what does that mean?
What we usually have is a single elimination bracket, which is once you lose a game or a series, you're out.
Yeah.
But in this case, you had a wild card game, which then fed into a 4-team double elimination bracket. So if you lost the game, then you still had a second chance. But if you lost a second game, then you were out.
Okay.
Which is why we had a ridiculous and uneven number of games. But because the last 2 games of the series were eliminated due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So with 6 teams and 5 of them making it into the bracket, feels pretty bad to be that 6th team, eh?
Yeah.
Who was
or
it?
Adelaide.
Adelaide? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
What they get for having a terrible team name. Bite.
Adelaide Bite.
They used to be the Adelaide Giants.
Yeah,
That's
way better.
Adelaide Angels sounds even better. That would have been good.
I do like that there are a couple of alliterative teams in the ABL.
Yeah, speaking of alliterative teams, Ollie.
Let's talk teams?
Yeah, talk me about those Brisbane Bandits and those Canberra Cavalry.
Yeah. So, as we've talked about before, the Australian Baseball League is divided into 2 separate divisions, the Northeast and the Southwest.
Uh-huh.
The Northeast is made up of the Brisbane Bandits, Sydney Blue Sox, Canberra Cavalry, and the Auckland Tuatara, being our New Zealand team. The Brisbane Bandits, they've been around since the beginning of the current ABL. They won 4 straight championships from 2015-16 season through the 2018-19 season, and they haven't been back since. So they haven't even been back to the playoffs since. And yeah, they were very good for a very long time. Well, considering the age of this league, and now they've got nothing. They do have the reliever who has the current single season record for ERA at 0.4 and for saves at 0.4 ERA for a 40-game season, yeah. And he also leads in saves, but I don't know that number off the top of my head.
A 0.4 ERA is incredible. That means he could pitch for 2 full 9-inning games and still maybe not give up a run.
Especially in like a short season, where if you allow a run, it will pretty much blow up your ERA immediately. That must have meant he allowed 1 run.
He was a reliever.
Yeah, but he probably allowed like 1 run over the entire season or something. 1 or 2 runs.
Yeah.
Dang it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's like 1 run in 20 innings.
My God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he was the closer, and he still is the closer, actually. He's been around for a while.
Mr. Surly.
Yeah,
Searly?
Ryan Searly.
Is it Searly? Surly.
I don't actually know.
Surely it's Searly.
Okay. We're going to ignore that. I also spelled it wrong. It's with an E at the end. Not a Y.
Cyril.
Yeah, that sounds like Searle.
Yeah. Yeah, he sets the record with 17 saves. And he's also been in the Cubs minor league organization.
Well,
but he never made it to the major league roster. I think he made it to
17 saves in a 40-game season is also absurd.
Yes. It's easier when you consider that they tend to play, in a normal season at least, they play games over a 10-week span, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think. That's how it was a few years ago. I haven't checked what it was last year.
Wait, that means that most weeks you're probably going back to back to back to back as a closer.
Yes, but it also means that you have 3 days of rest in between them. So it's easier than playing 40 games on back-to-back days.
Sure.
But still, super impressive.
Yeah, I mean, that would be like if a major leaguer had like 70 saves.
Yeah. He did that in 2015-16 season. So that was in one of the Brisbane Bandits championship seasons, which he surprisingly did not win the Helms Award somehow.
So the major league save record is 62.
Mm-hmm.
In 162 games.
Well, but not played, I think.
Yeah.
Francisco Rodriguez, K-Rod. It was in 2008, sorry. 76. Yep. He played 76 games and he appeared in 76 games and he had 62 saves. He still had 7 blown saves.
Good God.
So if he converted everything, he would have had a very nice number of 69 saves. What a shame.
What a shame.
Edwin Diaz is second.
I know. He was really pushing for that record in 2018.
For the Seattle Mariners in 2018. How many games did they win that year?
Oh, probably. Let's see. Edwin Diaz had
57 saves.
57 saves, so I'd say they probably had 57 wins.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
All close.
That was actually a crazy year. They had like 100 one-run games.
So Ryan Searley had a 5-2 record, played in 31 games, had 17 saves, 45 innings pitched, and allowed just 2 earned runs.
That's good.
He allowed, his whip or walks and hits per innings pitched is 0.78. Yeah. Not actually the lowest mark of that season.
Crazy.
All right, let's get to the other teams because.
All right, next up, the Sydney Blue Sox finished third place in each of the current ABL's first 5 seasons, and have been a fringe playoff team since. Like they've made it some years and haven't made it others, and they never really get far. So they currently have Jacob Robson on the team. He's a AAA Tigers outfielder.
Yep.
And for the briefest of moments, it looked like they were going to have Manny Ramirez on the team before he was cut prior to the season.
As a player coach.
49-year-old Manny Ramirez.
Yes.
Player coach.
As a player coach. They also had Gift Ngope on their team for a few years.
He's fun.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, that's the first African-born major league player.
I saw him play in the playoffs now, and I was surprised at how good he looked. Like glove, like his glove is also ridiculous. He's a very good shortstop.
Yes, he is.
Great stuff. Gift. What a gift to the world. Another alliterative team.
Canberra. The Canberra Cavalry.
Which just sounds good. That just sounds good.
It does,
They won the 2012-2013 Claxton Shield, and they lost the next year and also in 2017-18. They've been a pretty consistent playoff team throughout the ABL's history. The only current player who's really interesting right now is Robbie Perkins. He's a catcher. He was the 2016-17 MVP, so he won the Helms Trophy in the ABL that year.
Decent.
Say it again?
That's decent.
Yeah.
Decent player. So he won the Helms Award and the Claxton Shield? Oh, no, not the Claxton Shield that year. Too bad.
No, they didn't make the championship series that year. Next up, and I think my favorite team in this list is the Auckland Tuatara. I had to look up
absolutely the best team in this list.
Definitely.
Yeah. I had to look up what a Tuatara was.
Tuatara are incredible.
It's a type of lizard.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's a reptile that is often misclassified as a lizard. They're related to lizards, but
like
they're
I
not
did
lizards.
Just now.
Yep.
How dare thee?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tuatara are great animals. They have genomes that are almost twice as big as humans. That's cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're predated on by Polynesian rats. Also, like those rats, I haven't looked them up, but they must be incredible because I think the Tuatara get to be like 60 centimeters long.
I'm on their Wikipedia page. I can tell you in a second.
Also, we need to throw up a picture of one of these Tuatara because they are the least threatening looking reptile that I've ever seen.
I mean, it's gonna happen. Yeah. We're gonna put them on screen.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, so Tuatara, great mascot. I think that there need to be more local flora and fauna that are represented in
baseball
mascots.
In baseball.
Yeah.
In baseball and in all sports.
What would be...
come on, bandits? Boring.
Yeah. But what would be...
Funnel web spiders? Way cooler.
What would be the one for the Leuven Twins, the team that we're playing for? What would be the...
Is there local flora and fauna here?
I don't know.
There's like a wolf once every few years.
Yeah, but Leuven Wolves, I mean...
No, it's not a good team name.
No.
Let's see. We got a lot of like crows and rooks here.
Birds?
Yeah. Tuatara get up to 61 centimeters as males and 45 as females.
God dang it.
Yeah, sorry, listeners. This is a niche animal podcast now.
Yeah, males weigh up to 1 kilogram, females up to half a kilogram. These are not big animals.
But still, that's pretty big to be eaten by a rat.
It's true.
I assume it's their eggs or their babies that get eaten by the rats, but...
Yeah, probably.
Like, come on. Shouldn't be predated by a rat. They live on garbage.
Tuatara, like many of New Zealand's native animals, are threatened by habitat loss and introduced predators such as the Polynesian rat, of which we'll also throw up a picture.
Yeah. I mean, we could turn this into
They measure up to...
Go ahead.
They measure up to 15 centimeters in length from nose to the base of the tail.
Just big things.
But still smaller than a Tuatara.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, 15 centimeters for a rat, that's no city rat. Have you seen like a New York City rat?
What's that, like 30 centimeters?
Those things are like capybaras.
Yeah, but they run the city.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. The Auckland Tuatara joined the league in the 2018-19 season. They haven't made the playoffs since joining the league. They've, I think, been bottom of the division both years they've played. They didn't play this year because of COVID concerns, because they're an international team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's how New Zealand kept their, 7 total COVID cases.
Yeah. But one interesting thing to note is the games played in Auckland are 7 innings long because of a deal with the local New Zealand broadcasting company. So games in New Zealand are shorter to be more broadcast friendly, which makes it interesting that in the same competition, there are games that are 7 innings long and games that are 9 innings long. The current players that are interesting are, they've got a pair of good pitchers. There's Kyohei Muranaka. He played in the NPB for 13 seasons.
NPB is the Japanese professional league, who we'll cover in a later podcast.
Definitely.
He played for the Tokyo Yakult Swallows. And they also have Josh Colemanter, who played for the Diamondbacks and Braves in a previous life. Moving on to the other division, the Southwest.
Perth Heat?
The Perth Heat, which is a great team name.
Arguably the best Heat team, right?
Yeah.
In the world.
4 out of 5 championships.
I mean...
They won 4 out of the first 5, broken up only by the Canberra Cavalry in 2012 and 13.
So the Heat did not three-peat, or they did three-peat?
No, they won 2, lost 1, won 2 again.
That's the worst kind.
Classic Heat move.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Dang it.
They've only been back to the playoffs once since, which is 2018-19 when they won the division. And they lost this year's final.
Yeah. We'll talk about that final later on. We'll get there.
They currently have 2 different career leaders for the ABL. They've got Tim Kennelly, who's a third baseman and outfielder who's played a little bit of catcher, and he's the current career leader for both hits and runs. And they have Daniel Schmidt, who is the career leader in both wins and losses for a pitcher.
So he was around for a long time.
He's just been around forever.
He's one of those accumulators.
Yeah. Like, he's also a good pitcher for the ABL, but just been around forever.
Was he a good pitcher?
Let's find out. Daniel Schmidt is also a soccer player, so there's 0% chance I'm going to find him that way.
Yeah, we're probably not going to find him.
I had his Wikipedia page earlier. So, yes, Daniel Schmidt, baseball player. Thank you. Oh, that's fine. Don't actually show his stats.
Please no.
Yeah, so he first played at a national level in as a 20-year-old in the 2008 Claxton Shield, which was, as you'll remember, the previous incarnation of the Australian Baseball League. He continued playing for the Heat in the Australian Baseball League when it started, and led the league. He led the league in wins that year, and he's just been a mainstay in the rotation since up until 2015. Then they put him in the bullpen as a spot starter role, and he's been moved into the bullpen full time since 2018. So he's just been around.
I mean,
he's also played on some great American, not major league level teams, which, since we're going to get back to great mascot names, the Grand Prairie Air Hogs, so good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Fort Worth Cats, Broxton Rocks, and the Alexandria Aces and the Edinburgh Roadrunners.
Yeah.
Those are fantastic team names.
I love minor league team names. We could do a separate pod just on minor league team names. We could do a draft.
I think we could just do a pod on team names in general.
Yeah. We could do like a draft. Like draft your best minor league team names.
He was also selected as a member of the Australian national baseball team for the 2019 Premier 12.
I mean, that's better than I have ever performed. So,
yeah, this is a player who's been around at a national level for a long, long time.
I mean, being around for that long is just like an achievement on its own. So,
absolutely,
props to Daniel Schmidt.
And he's only 32, so he could keep playing for quite a while.
He's probably going to get like a 40, keep going until 40, stack up those career wins and losses.
He'll become the Australian Bartolo Colon.
Oh,
yeah. Next team up is the Melbourne Aces. They won the championship this year and also last year. They're defending back-to-back champs. Before that, they'd been to the championship series twice, but they lost both times in 11 and 12 and 16-17. The current players, Delman Young in the outfield.
Pitcher outfielder, Delman Young.
Yeah. Yeah, he pitched an inning this year. And Gifton Guppe, we talked about him earlier. He currently plays for the Melbourne Aces. Very good player.
Yeah. Then, we talked about him already. Adelaide Bite. Should have been Adelaide Angels.
The Adelaide Bite. Before the 2019-20 season, they were the Adelaide Giants. They've been to 4 different championship series, but they have 0 titles.
Ouch.
Yeah. So, relatively consistent, sporadic success, but they just never put it all together. They're interesting players right now. They got Curtis Mead, who's a second baseman, who's in the Rays farm system. And they got Austin Ross, who's a pitcher. He's actually a Phillies prospect.
Never heard of him.
Yeah. He's a Phillies prospect. That's all I know about him.
I know that the Melbourne Aces also have a Phillies prospect, Burke. And he was actually pretty good during the postseason. Like what I've seen of him. He's a catcher outfielder and has some good bat skills. And that's also one of the fun things about Australian baseball, about the Australian Baseball League, is that you'll find out more about the guys that you like, maybe from your own organization or just any other major league organization that you haven't heard of yet.
Yeah,
we'll get back to the teams, the 2 other like maybe famous players that have played in the ABL. We've talked about Keelan Correa already. Anything else you want to add on them, Ollie?
They joined 3 years ago, same time as the Auckland Tuatara when the league expanded. They're made up almost entirely out of Korean nationals, and they finished last in their division both seasons. And as I've mentioned, they also opted out of this season due to COVID restrictions.
Fair.
Because they're also a team of international players.
Right. Postseason this year, cut short, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we had
this year we don't have either of the two international squads in there because they've both opted out, sadly.
So we have the Cavs that beat the Blue Sox in the wildcard game. I think it finished like 3-2.
Yeah.
It was a fun game. Got a little bit exciting at the end. I think the two semifinals are worth noting in that they're essentially blowouts.
They were complete blowouts.
It was incredible to see. Like, I think it was in the Aces game. So the Aces won 9-4 against the Cavs. I think within 4 pitches, it was 2-0.
Yeah. The Aces game, if I remember right, was the Cavs actually started out top of the first with 3 runs.
Yeah.
And the Aces tied it and then some and made it 4-3 after 1 inning.
Oh yeah, it was the Cavs that took the lead within 4 pitches.
And the Cavs did not keep up the pace, and the Aces absolutely did for a 19-4 finish.
That was crazy. They just demolished.
And the Heat demolished the Giants 26-6, which I think is a record number of runs in the ABL postseason.
You mean the bite, right?
Yeah, the bite. Sorry.
That's fine.
What did I put?
Yeah, because they
were previously the Giants.
Previously Giants. Sorry, the Adelaide Bite were demolished.
The artist previously.
There was an 11-run 4th inning.
Yeah.
So then,
like some Belgian league scores.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the losers of those two went to what's called the elimination final, for a chance to play in the qualifying final. I think. I don't remember what that game's called. No, because the qualifying final is the next game. Whatever. They're playing for a chance to play for a chance in the finals, in theory, which they didn't end up getting. So the Cavs played against the Giants, and they held out at the very end for a 3-2 win. That game was also a nail-biter. And finally, our qualifying final, which turned into the finals due to COVID cutting out the games today and tomorrow. The Aces topped the Heat with a 7-run 2-out rally in the 6th inning. After retiring the first 2 hitters, the Aces bat around and score 7. And that ended the game at 9-2, I believe.
So there are some big-name major leaguers who have played in the ABL before.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Very big names.
Go ahead, Barnes.
Very big names. $40 million worth of names.
Really? Isn't it more?
Well, 40... I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah, so we got Liam Hendriks, who played with the Perth Heat.
Acuna signed
around.
an extension, which is worth $100 million.
Oh, no, we're fine.
Yeah,
$40 million is tiny.
Yeah.
Let's go. Should I just go through this list?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's just bang it out.
Yeah, so Liam Hendriks played with the Heat for a while. He's been around, very good reliever. Didi Gregorius, from Yankees fame, played with the Canberra Cavalry, as did Kevin Kiermaier, but he played for a different AL East team in the Rays. He's been around the MLB forever. G-Man Choi, who is apparently, according to these notes, Toine's spirit animal, played for the Adelaide Bite.
He's beautiful. Yeah, a beautiful man. I love him.
Rhys Hoskins, of Phillies fame, played for the Sydney Blue Sox. Ronald Acuna Jr., currently setting the league on fire as a youngster with the Atlanta Braves, played for the Melbourne Aces.
I think he had a 4.
Yusei Kikuchi, who we've come across in our Mariners Madness Out of the Park baseball series, subtle plug, played for the Melbourne Aces. Gifton Guppe, who we've talked about forever, who we've talked about so much, played for the Pirates for a little tiny bit, has played for both the Sydney Blue Sox and the Melbourne Aces. And Delman Young, of prior MLB fame, is currently playing for the Melbourne Aces.
Pitcher outfielder Delman Young.
Yeah, that joke will never get old.
Nope. All right. You also wanted to mention a little bit on the future of the league.
Yeah. So among the games canceled this weekend for COVID reasons are not only the last 2 games of the playoffs, but also some exhibition games played by next year's women's ABL teams. The current plans are to start a women's Australian baseball league for next year with, I believe, 4 teams involved. So that'll be interesting to watch.
They were supposed to have a showcase this weekend as well, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that hasn't transpired.
And there's There's also been talk of expanding the team to 10 teams in the coming 2 or 3 years, with possible expansion spots being a second team in New Zealand, a Japanese team, a Taiwanese team, and what was the other one? I think also the possibility of a Chinese team. So that
seems like kind of an iffy prospect. I do like the idea that they're going for with having these international teams in the Australian League. But so far we've seen the 2 teams, the Tuatara and the Korea, have not performed super well in the ABL. So
they have both improved their records. So the first year they were in, they were both relatively awful. And by relatively awful, I mean actually awful. I think Korea won 7 of their 40 games the first year. But the second year, they were nearly a 500 ball club. So, like, there's definitely some improvement there. And I think if we give them, more than 2 seasons to show it off, then they'll be fine.
I guess 2 seasons is kind of a small sample size, but doing an expansion followed by another expansion seems like kind of an iffy prospect. They might need to reconsider whether or not they allow Australian players to be in these foreign teams.
Yeah.
Because, it seems weird. I imagine that there's not as big a pool of New Zealander players. And for these other leagues, for the Korean League, for the Japanese League, for the Chinese leagues, they have professional leagues already. So the teams that will be going over, or the players that will be going over to the Australian League are potentially not as competitive.
So New Zealand doesn't have its own league.
That's why I sort of said them separately. It's like they just might not have as much depth, being a relatively non-populous country that has not a big history of playing baseball. Which,
in my mind, means that we should keep that team there for New Zealand players to have a place to go. And the other thing is, like, even with fewer players available, they only have to fill 1 team, whereas Australia has to fill 6.
Yeah, so what I would see as maybe a better direction is doing similar to like what the Canadian teams in Major League Baseball have been historically, where there is a team there to help drive interest in baseball in New Zealand, but that they pull from the same pool of players, and their players are able to go over to the Australian teams just as easily without taking up import slots.
Yeah.
I think that could drive a more competitive scene in New Zealand.
Yeah, one of the reasons that they're doing it the way they're doing it is so that there's one specific team for broadcasting rights in that country. Yeah. So, like, the Geelong Korea team is broadcast. All their games are broadcast in Korea. The same with the Auckland Tuatara in New Zealand. So they have specific broadcasting contracts with TV companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you can keep it that way.
Okay.
But just make it so that all of the teams that are in the league are drawing from the same pool of players. I think that it becomes a competitive integrity issue when different teams in the league have different players that they can have on their squad.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the ABL.
Yeah.
We've managed
you can, if you're outside of the US, Korea, I think also Taiwan, New Zealand, and Australia, you can stream all their games live on YouTube. Otherwise, there are local service providers that already broadcast at least some of the games to you.
Yeah.
So they're very easy to find. Their website is theabl.com.au. It's a very well put together website for a league this small and this young.
Definitely. It's fun league.
Definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely worth it for some winter baseball.
Yeah.
All of the games can be found in an archive both on their website and on YouTube. So you can just go watch and see what the level of play is. We mentioned earlier that both the wildcard game of this year and the Cavs-Giants game in the elimination final were both very good games. So we recommend you go watch them.
Definitely. And just have fun. Try to recognize some players. Yeah. See if you can, if you hear something about a potential minor leaguer of a team that you like. And go check him out. All right.
Go find the old games of Kevin Kiermaier.
Oh, yeah. And Ronald Acuna, DJ Gregorius. There's a lot of fun to be had. All right, that just about wraps up today's episode, but not before we do Barney's game.
Our closing game. Can you name one? This is all of our game.
What? Sorry?
This is all of our game. Not just mine.
Our game. Okay.
Barney's the host. We are the competitors. It is our game collectively.
The baseball.
So as a reminder,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you guys 4 questions on a single theme, where you guys compete to see how many players or teams or whatever who meet certain metrics there you can name. So in our first episode, Ollie, you got 7 points, and Toine, you got 3. Ooh. So let's see if we can improve on those totals from last time.
I'm still blue, right?
What's that?
I'm still blue.
You are still blue, yeah.
Beautiful.
All right. So last time we had a couple questions that neither of you could get any points on. So this week I decided to shift it a little bit and make sure that you guys would at least be able to get 1 point from every question.
Thanks.
Okay.
As such, there is one answer that is the same in all 4 of the questions that I prepared today. And you can probably guess what that answer is as soon as I give you today's theme.
Okay.
Our theme today is closers.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Okay.
So, first question. 8 closers have been inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay.
Can you name one? We'll start with you, Toine.
Yes.
Ollie, can you name 2?
Hold on. Who else has been inducted into the Hall of Fame except for Mr. Obvious? And also, why can I suddenly not remember Mr. Obvious's name? Like, I know exactly who he is.
Can remember his face, his number.
I can remember his face. I remember he's number 42 for the Yankees.
All right, Ollie.
First ballot unanimous Hall of I can only name 1, I think.
All right, Toine, can you name 2?
Yes.
Can you name 3?
Yes.
Can you name 4?
I'll go with 3. Yeah, I'll go with 3.
All right, hit me with 3 closers who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame.
So I've got 2 sure ones. So we got Hoffman and Mariano Rivera.
Yes.
So that's 2. Number 3. So I was thinking of, okay, I can keep it at those 2, or I could try and push for 3 and try to close the gap between me and Ollie. And you know me, I'm competitive. I'll take risks.
What are we doing if we're not going for it?
Exactly. So here's my
reminder, though.
Yeah.
You lose all of your points.
I am aware. So
If
here's for the nuggets, the fun nuggets.
Stop calling them that.
Dennis Eckersley.
Dennis Eckersley is correct.
All right,
Toine, you picked up 3 points.
All right, great. Happy with that.
So the other players who have been inducted to the Hall of Fame as closers: Raleigh Fingers, Goose
Fuck, I should've
Gossage,
known him.
and his wonderful mustache.
Raleigh
Lee
Fingers
Smith.
and his wonderful mustache.
Raleigh Fingers and his wonderful mustache as well. Closers and their mustaches. Lee Smith, Bruce Sutter, and Hoyt Wilhelm.
Okay, I'm happy with my guesses then. I
Yeah.
don't think I would have gotten anyone else.
I would have liked you to pick up Goose, but you know.
Yeah, Goose was the one that got away. So one that I should have
Yeah.
guessed more. But yeah, I'm happy with
Always is.
with the 3 that I have. I was actually doubting Trevor Hoffman for a while. I was like, did he get inducted? But
Yeah, he did.
I went in. I went all the way. All right.
All right. On to the next question. There are 10 players with more than 100 saves and a career ERA plus greater than 150. So for their career, they were, on average, 50% better than the rest of the league. Ollie, can you name 1?
Yes, I can.
So there's
1, can you name 2?
there's 10.
There are 10 of them. And I'll give you guys a couple hints here.
Yeah, so there
Because there's just a lot of numbers in the question.
I just need to get some things straight. So it's 10. There
are 10 players,
low
more than 100 saves,
Yeah.
and a career ERA plus over 150.
and active players included.
Of them, 4 of them still pitched in 2020,
Okay.
and only 2 of them retired before the year 2000. So we're talking a lot of current or recent pitchers.
Okay, I can name 2.
Okay, Ollie, 3?
Awful. More than 100 saves. That's a lot of saves.
It is a lot of saves.
And not an OPS plus, an ERA plus of over 150 is very good.
Yeah, they probably don't have an OPS plus over 150.
They
I
probably
would bet that none of these guys do.
That's quite a shout.
Go ahead. I'm so bad at closers. No. I can name 2, but not 3, I think.
All right, Toine, can you do 3?
Yeah.
Can you do 4?
Let's see who I already have. I can do 4. I'll go 5. I'll go 5.
You'll go 5? 5 final answer? All right, Toine, hit me with 5.
All right, so we got Mariano Rivera.
Yep.
Aroldis Chapman.
Yes.
All right. All right, this is squeaky bum time. So I'm going to say that this is a guess and a half. So there's a couple of guys that are like fringy, like I'm not 100% sure, but I'm still gonna go for them. Craig Kimball.
Yes.
Okay, that's 3. This is my big. Okay, I'm gonna do it anyway. Edwin Diaz.
No.
Ah, dang it.
Oh.
All right, so no points here.
Dang it.
Unless you can name 2 more.
2 more.
2 more to steal the 5 points.
Oof. I don't know whether he has 100 saves or not, but he is a very good closer. Ken Giles?
Nope.
No. Dang it.
All right, so of the guys that were still pitching in 2020, Roberto Osuna and Kenley Jansen.
Kenley.
Oh, fucking Jansen.
Oh,
yeah.
Kenley.
So those 2 could have gotten you there. The other guys, Billy Wagner, Joe Nathan, Jonathan Papelbon, and then the 2 guys who both retired in 1995, Tom Hank and Brian Harvey.
Okay. I think 5 was a little bit of a stretch then.
Yeah, I think that was a tough one. I was expecting you to get Jansen, though.
Yeah.
And maybe Osuna.
I was thinking Edwin Diaz because I thought, like, 57 saves. And he must have
should have known Jansen.
Should have known Jansen.
And I was hesitating between Giles and Osuna.
Yeah. Osuna?
Yeah, I think that Diaz was a good call, but he kind of fell apart.
Yeah, his ERA plus.
So I think that dropped his career ERA plus a bit too much.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, good question.
All right, so we got no points on that one because of the greed.
Because of the greed.
I should have stayed with.
All right.
Dang it. All right.
So, third question.
Yeah.
Relief pitchers and closers in particular tend to specialize in a single pitch type more than most other pitchers.
Yes.
There are 7 players who Fangraphs identifies as relievers. And I'm specifying this, that Fangraphs identifies them if you use the relievers filters, because I didn't know that at least some of these guys were relievers.
Yeah.
Who have pitched over 200 innings and rely on one pitch over 85% of the time.
Like ever? Or in active players?
This is all time. So I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to get 1 point for naming a pitcher and another point for naming the pitch that they rely on.
Okay.
And we'll start with you, Toine. Can you name 1?
Yes.
Ollie, 2.
Yeah.
Toine, 3.
So 85% of the time they use one pitch.
Yeah.
Relievers. It's not going to be knuckleballs. I can do 3.
Ollie, can you do 4?
No.
All right, Toine, hit me with 3.
All right. Yeah, I don't think I can know more than 3. So, first off is Mariano Rivera's cutter.
Yes.
And then I think it's Kenley Jansen with his cutter.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to say Aroldis Chapman with his fastball.
I did not see Aroldis Chapman on the list.
Oh, fuck me. Got greedy again.
You did get greedy again. I'm going to look this up once more, though, just to see where Aroldis Chapman is, because he is famous for his fastball.
Yeah.
Because it's very fast. However, Ollie, you have a chance to steal the points that Toine got if you can name one more person who Fangraphs lists under the reliever filter who throws a single pitch more than 85% of the time.
I'm gonna stick with Old Faithful and pray that Ken Giles is on this list again.
No, Ken Giles is not on the list.
That figures.
All right, I'm just pulling this
my
up.
guess. My second guess was also Chapman, by the way.
I think Chapman is like a good guess. However, I don't see him on the list. So the other pitchers that I found when I used this filter, and maybe I just screwed this up, Jim Brower, who apparently has thrown his fastball 100% of the time.
Beautiful. Just
What?
make it go fast.
100% of the time, over 440 innings pitched. Jake McGee, who threw a fastball 89.7% of the time.
Who signed with
And Sean Doolittle, who threw a fastball 87.9% of the time.
Oh, didn't know that.
In addition to them, Zach Britton apparently threw a sinker 89.2% of the time.
Yep.
And the one that really threw me off, and I heard you mention this while you were thinking about it, and this is why I kind of hammered on specifically the way that I filtered pitchers, is there was one knuckleballer who was listed as a relief pitcher, according to Fangraphs.
I knew this was going to bite me in my butt.
Tim Wakefield, apparently.
What?
Yeah. I don't know why. But
okay.
Tim Wakefield threw his knuckleball 88.3% of the time.
Okay.
The hell?
Yeah.
Well, you did clarify it before we started, so it's fine.
Yeah,
I will accept.
I never considered Wakefield a reliever.
No.
Maybe that just means that he pitched in relief one time, so Fangraphs listed him as a relief pitcher.
Aroldis Chapman threw his fastball 72.4% of the time.
Now that's amazing.
A lot, but not 85% a lot.
Why do you have to learn how to throw a slider?
21% of the time. Get the fuck out of here, Chapman.
All right, so you guys are continuing to not get points.
Yeah, but this is due to hubris, not due to the fact that we don't know shit.
Yeah, that is true. It is true.
It's getting
hubris.
better. The entertainment value is up.
All right,
Yeah.
My last question.
Yeah.
There are 6 pitchers who have over 400 career saves.
Okay.
Ollie, can you name one?
Yeah.
Juan, can you name 2?
Yep.
Ollie, 3?
400 is a lot of saves.
It is a lot of saves.
I'm gonna think out loud here. Juan's already got me beat, I think. Let's see. Giles, no. Osuna, no. Neither of them have been in the league.
be wrong with Giles again.
Yeah. I'm just going to go out there because it has to be right one time.
That's got to be right. No. Giles is in none of these questions. Let's see. Are older closers in there? Like, Fingers was around for a while, but was he around 400 saves? Yeah, we're going to go with 3.
All right, Toine, can you do 4?
I'm not going to let Ollie call 3.
All right. Ollie, hit me with 3 closers with 400 career saves, according to StatHead.
All right. Mariano Rivera.
Yes.
Great shout.
Kenley Jansen.
Kenley Jansen is incorrect.
I knew it.
What? How many saves does Jansen have?
Let's look this up.
I think like 200. 250 or something, maybe 300.
312.
312.
God damn it.
I was never going to guess
right,
Jansen.
Tuan.
I can steal it.
A chance to steal. Can you name 2 non-Mariano Rivera closers with over 400 career saves?
Hoffman has 602.
Did you look that up, or do you know that he has 602?
I know that
off
because
your
that's
head?
a record that was broken. So,
All right.
because that's when Rivera's at the all-time save record. Now,
Yeah, this was hopeless for me.
there's one more guy should have 400 saves. Gonna go out on a limb here and say the Goose Gossage. Is this silence because I won it?
It is not.
Goose Gossage had 310 career
Oh,
saves.
fuck. Okay.
All right, Tuan.
That's just sad.
Yeah,
Bruce Gossage is lower on this list than Kenley Jansen.
that's actually kind of crazy. The other 4 were Francisco Rodriguez, John Franco, Billy Wagner, and Lee Smith.
Why did I not say Francisco Rodriguez? I talked about him.
Yeah, I was expecting Francisco Rodriguez to come out, but I like the shout for Goose.
Yeah, the Goose is always a good shout.
Goose and his mustache,
All right.
which also we're going to throw up a picture of.
Definitely. All right.
So,
What's the score?
So
did we get any points today?
I did.
Tuan got 3 points on the first question.
And then it just went downhill from there.
So after today's session, Ollie is still leading with 7 points.
From one question, if I remember right.
Yep, from one question. And Toine has narrowed the gap considerably with now 6 points.
Good effort. Should have been more, but it's fine.
It was greedy. It was a greedy attempt, and I appreciate it.
I was too greedy.
Yeah, we
have
discovered that I'm bad at closers. Do not ask me about closers ever.
Yeah, apparently not.
We won't.
Quick shout out to Mariano Rivera for just being the best closer of all time.
And the only unanimous Hall of Famer.
Yep. Until Ichiro. I don't know.
Sure. Or A-Rod next year.
If A-Rod is unanimously elected to the Hall of Fame, I'll crap my pants.
I think the Hall of Fame will cease to exist if that happens. It will just condense itself into a void.
They'll just retire it.
It will just cease to exist. They'll walk up to the building and it will be gone the next day. Just all right.
Condense into a temporary black hole.
Yes. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. You can still email us at mbgf.sports@gmail.com if you want us to ask us some questions or you want us to read your trivia or your cool stories or anything. Be sure.
Juan, have we gotten any emails?
No, but I'm still hopeful.
Cool.
Be sure to check out our OOTP series on YouTube. We're also going to have a lot of stuff in the works currently that we're going to release soon, especially the off-season gradings. So be sure to check that out. And then we'll see you next time. Say bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.